Let's get it started just like this. Welcome to the Hardway Project.
What's up,
Step in
everybody?
the
Welcome
ring,
to the
it ain't
Hardway
no backing
Project.
down.
Again, I'm here with my man, John Mark. What's up, John?
Hey, Charles, good to see you, my brother. It feels lonely here without Mia Friday being here. I guess she's going to have to deal with me today.
All good, man. All good. I'm sure she's out there wrestling somewhere here in South Texas, man, making a name for herself and doing well. So maybe we'll have her on again here in the next year or so and see where she's at. That'd be definitely be awesome, man.
Yeah, man. I think I'm probably the annoying Mark now because I'm like always commenting on her Instagram. I'm annoying, you know. But I gotta support my girl because she's freaking. Man, that was such a good conversation. She's such a good person, and
Absolutely.
I loved. I felt I was a mile high after we got done talking to her.
Hell yeah, dude. Hell yeah. Hey man, I want to talk about something, man. Where are the managers in the WWE nowadays? There's one, Paul Heyman.
Yeah. A good question, man. And, you know, when you introduced this topic, it wasn't really frankly, it wasn't something I really thought much about. But you're right. It's just not out there. And actually, just take a look back. How long has Paul Heyman been like the only manager on the roster?
For a while.
It's been a while. So, you know, I guess, you know, when I think of great managers, I think of you're going to do a deep dive. Spoiler alert, Charles is going to deep dive Robbie the Brain Heenan today, which I'm stoked about. Who is, I think you and I both agree, he's the GOAT.
The GOAT of managers, absolutely. Maybe one of the GOATs of commentators as well.
I think of Jimmy Hart, Mouth of South Jimmy Hart, Jim Cornette, J.J. Dillon. I think of Sensational Sherry, or Scary Sherry. I think of Miss Elizabeth.
Yeah.
Those are some, I think of Charmel. Yep. She did it for a while too for Booker. Yeah, I mean, and I don't know, man. But that's something that has seemed to have fallen out of favor, and I don't really have a clear answer on that. But like for you, what does a manager do for you as a
obviously as a layer, right? So adds a layer to the mystique of the wrestler, adds a layer of storytelling, like Miss Elizabeth and Macho Man, right? Macho Man got a lot of heat, but you could only hate him so much because he had Miss Elizabeth at his side, you know, an innocent, quote unquote, innocent, you know, beautiful young woman. And then it turned into like where he was controlling and even had, you know, maybe, I'll edit this, was nuances of, maybe nuances of domestic violence, right? When he was like controlling her, he would put his hands on her and, he just acted wild. So it just added a layer of storytelling that just really, isn't there today.
Yeah. Do you remember? I remember it, man. Actually, Saturday Night's Main Event, in my opinion, I don't care what anybody says. They can call me a boomer. Saturday Night's Main Event is nothing compared to what it used to be. Yeah. Like there were some big matches right on Saturday Night's Main Event. And I remember the one where, what was the name of Hulk Hogan and Savages? I forget the name of their tag team.
Oh, the
Mega Powers. Mega Powers, which is okay. Anyway, we'll put that aside. That's right. And remember, like you could see the tension bubbling between Hogan and Macho Man for weeks, right?
Yeah.
And it all centered around Elizabeth, right? And Hulk Hogan at that time was that, great American, figure, but he had handed the strap to, now Macho Man had the strap. And there was like this jealousy that was brewing between the two of them. And Elizabeth became a central part of that. And it culminated, I guess she got like knocked out of the ring. Hogan took her to the back and was like, put her on the stretcher and was talking to her, in the meantime, Randy was just getting housed out there 2-on-1. And it was the perfect story because it broke the relationship. At the end, Randy jumped Hogan in the back and medical staff were everywhere. I mean, but that, as you said, that she introduced a layer of friction between those two guys that never, that it could have been just traditional jealousy. I'm jealous of you because you now basically own the company. That in and of itself is interesting, but now you add her into the mix, especially knowing how protective Savage was of her.
A
whole another layer.
The kayfabe, but like he was really like that.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, allegedly he used to, I guess, have her in a small room. They say locked in a closet. I doubt that was true. But she was locked
Uh,
up in the closet. I don't know, man. If I was in that situation, I'd probably do the same thing. That crowd, man.
yeah, man.
But
Yeah,
you're right.
Macho,
That's a whole
he
nother.
was wild back. He was a wild dude, man. So,
Yeah.
but just as layers storytelling, we don't have that today, man. Like I said, we got Paul Heyman, and he does a great job. I
Mhm.
think Paul's a great, just a, great. He's great on the mic. He gets heat. Um, he seems to, most managers, just looking back, are with heels.
Mhm.
They help heels get heat. And just segue into Bobby the Brain Heenan, that's what he did, man. Just so in case we didn't, just to go into the deep dive with Bobby the Brain, man, he didn't need to wrestle. He started off as a wrestler in the AWA back in the day, but he didn't need to wrestle to control a match. He didn't need the spotlight because somehow the spotlight found him anyway. And if we're being real, there's a strong argument that, and we already said it, is a Bobby the Brain is the greatest non-wrestler in the history of the business. If you don't believe that, go back and watch The Barbershop.
Yeah. 100%, man. There's no one even comes close. No one comes close. Yeah. And the
Ugh.
barbershop that, I miss those days where they would have like they would like go over the ring, like on USA Network, and you would see like Piper's Pit in the back, or you would see the barbershop in the back,
Yeah,
it was
and
a great
the
promo.
Bobby is a, and that was his role as a, commentator, but his role as a manager, he always managed the heels, right?
Mhm.
He talked for the heels, he protected the heels, he cheated for the heels, and if the heel lost, it was never the heel's fault,
Mm,
ever.
that's
Refs
right.
were blind, opponents were lucky, the crowd was stupid, whatever the case. He like built a world where like the heel was always right. It was just, man, he was special in that way. And then we talk about like who he managed, man. He really managed a lot of wrestlers even before the WWF that people don't realize.
Mhm.
Obviously, one of the biggest ones he managed was Andre the Giant. The whole Andre and Hogan buildup. Bobby the Brain was there with Andre,
That's right.
and they turned Andre into a heel. Because Hogan was a babyface.
That's PhD level. That's PhD, man. I remember because at that time, I mean, all kids loved Hulk Hogan, right? And I always kind of viewed Andre as Hulk Hogan's right hand man, the guy that helps protect Hulk Hogan. But as I got older, I started to like pick up, okay, this relationship is getting ready to go south.
Yep.
And it wasn't necessarily something in the storylines that was being produced between those two. It was something that was being produced, stirred up by Bobby Heenan. He was the catalyst to drive that wedge between those two guys. And it was all about putting stuff in Andre's head about things, even at that time as a young fan. I remember thinking to myself, man, Andre the Giant's a legend. He's been all over the world, you know, and here's this upstart Hulk Hogan, and I remember like even as a fan start feeling kind of sympathy for Andre, right? Because he was always in Hulk's shadow when in fact it's like Hulk Hogan should be in Andre's shadow. And Bobby
Yeah.
the Brain, he tapped into that. I think a lot of, he tapped into that and drove that wedge between them. And that was
Absolutely.
one of the greatest WrestleManias of all time,
Yeah.
without doubt.
Yeah, and he managed, some names he managed, and we all know, Mr. Perfect,
That's
Rick
right.
Rude. I think I remember him like probably the best for being Rick Rude's manager. Just the arrogance, it was hilarious. The Brain Busters, Arn and Tully, King Kong Bundy, Big John Studd, Haku, Hercules, Harley Race,
Uh,
like,
yeah,
yeah, and even the Red Rooster, and he
that's
made
right.
that work.
Yeah.
Like, you make the Red Rooster work. Are you kidding me?
I mean, no, you're onto something, Charles, for sure. And I mean, he was a fixture of the storyline. He was he was probably doing more to drive the storylines to help get those guys over. Um, and it's interesting you bring up the heel part of it, and that's certainly true. I think you also see it was also a lot more prominent to have managers. Bobby the Brain had quite a few of them, tag teams, rather than individual wrestlers.
Yeah.
J.J. Dillon had the Four Horsemen. Cornette had the Midnight Express. It seemed to be a lot more prominent use of managers when it came to tag teams for some reason.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. And it's like with Bobby, man, it was like if Bobby was attached to a wrestler, you just knew it was a like main event. Like that wrestler was like that next thing, or the, top. Like he validated whoever he was managing.
That's right.
And then, just his one-liner, bro, at the barber shop,
Yeah.
it's like he said it was just perfect timing. I don't know what the backstory is, if he knew he was coming and he had that line saved, or it was just on the fly, off the cuff line. But he says, "See, I knew he was gonna do that." And then he doubles down. He calls Jannetty a coward for trying to escape through the window.
That's right.
Like, are you kidding me? And it was like, man, that was a downfall. That's a whole nother subject. That was like downfall of Jannetty. But
Mhm.
man, like that line right there, man, I mean, genius.
Genius. You also correctly mentioned that he was one of the best commentators of all time too.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And the crazy part is he could get nuclear heat as a commentator or manager, but
Mhm.
he make you laugh 10 seconds later, because he was funny. He was like, he was just over the top funny, like when it came to just his work. So yeah, man, I wanted to, Bobby the Brain Heenan, man, rest in peace. He caught throat cancer in 2002, passed away. He was in WCW for a minute, but I don't think he got the creative control he had in the WWF, and so he didn't really have that big of an impact in the WCW. Obviously, he went over there because they wrote him a better guarantee check, just like the other wrestlers. But I don't think he had the creative control over there.
Yeah.
So
And also too, I think with Bobby the Brain Heenan, like it's interesting to think about like how he would have worked out. Like I think of him during the golden era of the WWE, at least what I think of the golden. That's debatable, quite frankly. That's debatable, right? But I would call it the dawn of the WF. I associate him with that, with those kind of big characters, Madison Square Garden, I associate him with that. Then came the Attitude Era, then came Ruthless Aggression. And I'm just not so sure that his imprint as a manager or as a commentator wouldn't have matched up very well with that vibe.
yeah, it'd be interesting to see. I think that Paul Heyman is Bobby the Brain 2.0. He's
Mhm.
like Bobby the Brain light. He's not as good. He's good. He's great, I think, but he's not Bobby. And then obviously Jerry the King Lawler commentary, I think he took a lot from Bobby the Brain.
Yeah.
A lot. So I think it's just as wrestling evolved throughout the years, whoever that heel commentator is or that heel manager, man, I just think 90% of that is like Bobby the Brain Heenan's DNA.
Yeah. I can still hear in my mind's eye a young Vince McMahon and Bobby the Brain Heenan both on the mic for WWF.
Yep.
Shows how old
Or
I am.
And then just on top of all of that, just his chemistry with Gorilla Monsoon,
Mhm.
they were just and behind the scenes, they were like great friends. I'm reading Gorilla Monsoon's book now,
Mhm.
but they're great friends behind the scenes. But like their chemistry on the mic in front of the camera was it's legendary, dude. Nothing will ever top that.
Yeah. Yeah. Indeed. They had some momentous calls, man. And I also remember too, like many of the announcers from the territories, right? They didn't have the same level. And these were some really good announcers, guys, guys like
You're good. I'll edit, bro.
yeah, yeah. The guy with the cowboy hat, not Jerry Lawler, but Oklahoma boy,
Oh, you talking JR?
JR. Thank you, man. Old man
No,
moment.
it's all good, man. I get the same.
Guys like, JR and guys, from the like that from the territory. These were good announcers. These were Hall of Fame announcers. But there was something about WWF because it was out of New York. They had like really good production. These voices were big and they were clear and they just added so much richness to the match and so much drama to the match. They called it almost like a boxing match versus
Yeah,
like in the territories it was more like a wrestling match, right?
yeah. No, absolutely. It was just next level production for
Yeah.
the time, right?
And Heenan was that. He built that. Him and Monsoon built that.
And I think a lot of it, like if you remember, they'd always wear like tuxedos,
That's right. Yeah.
right? Just to make, I mean, they might be filming in a studio, you know, in the basement somewhere,
Yeah.
right? But they got tuxedos on and it looked,
Oh, yeah.
like it's the next big thing. Like, damn, this is important.
Remember the mic used to come down from the top,
Yep.
you'd grab the mic and they would do the announcement. It is true. It almost felt like it treated it almost like it was a boxing match, this is a prize fight, had that
Well,
vibe.
man, you hit on something, and I know we didn't really talk about this, but this just sparked my memory. So they used like a boxing match because boxing was huge in the 80s and 90s, right? That was the biggest event there was. Now the biggest events there are really is UFC.
Mhm.
So if you look, and then obviously you have TKOs and that owns everything. But if you look now, the way and I forget her name, and I'll edit this, man. The black chick with the hair, with the crazy hair. What's her name?
You
The
talking about
announcer.
the announcer? 1 second.
Yeah,
Let me look her up real fast.
she's really good.
Alicia Taylor.
Alicia Taylor. So now if you look at Alicia Taylor before big matches,
Mhm.
she'll go out to the middle of the ring and introduce each one kind of like a Bruce Buffer,
Yeah. That's right. That's right.
right? So it has UFC vibes.
Mhm.
And so I think they're onto something. They just, this is when it's a big deal, they go all in on production and these, whatever it is, vibes back in the day was boxing was the biggest thing. Now it's UFC. So
That's interesting. Now you're onto something, man, because back in the 80s and 90s, with every big fight, one of the key personalities for boxing was always the promoter, right? So you had
yeah,
obviously
you had
Don.
Don King, and then Michael Buffer was the commentator. Now, Bruce is UFC,
That's right.
but if you saw them or heard their voice, you know it was something big.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think that that's what Vince was going after with the WWF, and it was markedly different than what the territories are producing, which was small arenas, very kind of lower production quality. I mean, that's it, man. When you're up in New York, you got to bring it, dude. And
Yeah,
that was the vibe they got. And it's interesting because UFC has Dana White, they're but the
yeah,
fighters aren't associated with a big personality. Some of the fighters had cut men and trainers and cornermen that were big personalities, and the camera would zoom in on them, and they became almost part of the match. But that's not what you see in UFC today. All the commentating is on the fight. It's on the technical aspects of the fight,
right,
right?
right.
And I think back in the 80s and 90s, it was bigger than that.
Yeah.
It was. I used to, man. I tell you what, some of those conversations in the corner between rounds, it could get pretty nasty, man.
Oh, absolutely, bro. Absolutely, man. So I think, wrestling WWF has just evolved with the times. They obviously there's tons of hate for the WWE and wrestling and stuff, just hardcore marks like ourselves. But I think they're doing, man, I think we can always criticize, but I think they're in a good place.
Yeah, I wonder if also too, you've mentioned this before, Charles, that your view is, and I'm coming around to it for sure, is that today promos seem to be a lot more scripted. They seem to be a lot more written by writers. Whereas back in the day, it seemed to be a little bit more freewheeling, like the talent went out there, explored the space a little bit. And it's almost like that almost accommodated, almost invited a manager, right?
Yeah.
Versus now, it's just another freaking character you got a script for.
Right. Well, you look at the biggest heels back in the day, like Rick Rude,
Mhm.
right? Rick Rude was not good on the mic, but he had Bobby the Brain. He didn't have to be good on the mic.
Mhm.
Now heels nowadays, they have to be good on the mic because they don't have a manager like Bobby the Brain.
Yeah. Great
I
point.
think Roman Reigns, right? He had Paul Heyman for the longest. And I think Roman Reigns is probably not the greatest on the mic. He's a great wrestler and he's top tier, but I wouldn't give his mic skills, an A plus.
No.
But he didn't need it because he had Paul Heyman.
Yeah.
Same with Brock.
Yeah.
Brock's not the greatest on the mic. He's a physical specimen, right? But he's got Paul Heyman.
Yeah. Very interesting. Very interesting. And it's interesting too, back in the 80s and 90s, going back to the whole boxing thing, I remember the Four Horsemen would challenge another tag team, or one of their members would go up against a babyface for the NWA championship. And they would have these signing ceremonies, in a hotel conference room or something, where, Dusty Rhodes would bring in a big trash bag full of money, drop it on the desk, and JJ Dillon's like, we're going to count it all first. and they would have the contracts, and they would move them back and forth. And in that situation, managers almost took on they almost became their part of their character was they were businessmen. And it's
like a true manager.
a true manager, right? And it's interesting. These guys too, like back in the day, like my understanding of the way it worked is like the heels and the baby faces back in the day didn't travel together because God forbid if you're in a territory and someone sees you at Wendy's with someone you're supposed to be beefing with, then the whole gig is up, right? So a lot of these tag teams, they would travel with their managers everywhere, and they would get this chemistry, that would develop from that shared experience on the road. Today, it's a completely different thing. The folks they all live in Orlando, but folks in theory live all over the world, and they come together 2 times a week, perform, and they go back to their families. I'm sure it's a much better life for them, and I'm happy for them. They make a lot more money, but like back in those days when I'm talking about Cody Rhodes, he talked about the need for dark shows, more house shows, right? To kind of bring some of that back into the business.
It allows them to hone their craft. If they fall on their face on a dark show at a house show, no big deal.
Yeah.
They're working on their stuff. It's like a comedian, right? A comedian like a Dave Chappelle, man, he's going to work on his stuff. He's the greatest comedian I think has ever lived. One of them.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to work on his stuff at small clubs for like 6 months before he does that Netflix special.
Yeah, that's right.
It's the same thing.
Yeah. It's fascinating. Managers. I wonder, and again, full disclosure, I don't follow AEW. I probably should, because all my friends keep telling me to. They're like, all the stuff you complain about with WWE, you need to watch AEW. I just don't have time for it. And
yeah, me either, man. I wish I did, dude. We both got 70-hour-a-week jobs. So
I wonder if managers are prominent parts of other promotions. I don't know. I'll have to check that out.
Good question, man. And I want to end our manager talk on this. So Bobby the Brain, yes, the greatest manager ever, right? The GOAT. However, I think Sensational Sherry doesn't get her due.
Mm-hmm.
Really, and then this is a layer that I would like to touch on just briefly. Sensational Sherry, when she was the manager for the Harlem Heat, we're talking 90s, early 90s, you have 2 black males, Booker T and damn, what's his brother's name? I'm going to edit this too. Ray, right? Stevie Ray.
Stevie
Ray. Yeah.
Let me Booker and Lash Huffman. Stevie Ray, Booker T and Stevie Ray.
Yeah, that's right. So you have the Harlem Heat, which is Booker T and his brother Stevie Ray, right? Billed from Harlem, but they're really from Houston. But they build from Harlem, right? And they're this black tag team that's like really pro-black, right? Like they're in the time in the 90s when it was, it was really, it was a different time, but you had a white female as their manager.
Mm-hmm.
So that added another layer of storytelling and another layer of just like a racial type, heat. So I don't think it was just so nuanced and it was so genius. I don't think WCW kind of even realized what they did. But every time you saw them, you just, it was that next layer, right, of nuance.
Yeah.
So,
no, dude, I completely agree with you. And it's a shame that more people don't remember Harlem Heat under the management of Sensational Sherry, Martel.
Well, everybody remembers that one promo.
Oh, yeah.
Booker
I'm not
T.
going to say it. Are you going to say it?
Hulk Hogan, we coming for you.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, it was, I mean, you're absolutely right. It was light years ahead of its time. She, everyone loved Elizabeth. I loved Elizabeth. God rest her soul. But it was easy to overlook Sherry Martel. Yeah. Sherry Martel was a good athlete. She could wrestle.
Yeah, she wrestled.
She was tough, man. She was a tough lady. I mean, you got this Southern white girl who's managing like these 2 black guys, and
in the late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah. I see what you're saying,
different
man.
Time back then. So
was definitely. I wonder if have you ever been to Greensboro before?
Yeah, that raised some eyebrows, right? And I'm sure they took tons of heat in the South.
Yeah, for sure. But that's what wrestling's supposed to do, man. That's what wrestling's supposed to do. I mean, Smoky Mountain Wrestling. Cornette put OJ.
Yeah, New Jack. Golly.
Yeah. And allegedly, Coca-Cola said this is out of some shoot interviews, but allegedly Coca-Cola like said, we'll sponsor you, but like it's conditional that New Jack's got to go. And they said no. Cornette refused because wrestling's not supposed to be corporate, man.
Yeah. And New Jack, man, geez, we could do a whole episode on New Jack.
We should do an episode on New Jack.
He was just so ridiculous and just an insane human being, man, but it worked so well. It worked so well.
He got those rednecks so riled up, man.
And the thing was, it wasn't even like that. Like, I forget who it was. Man, it might have been Cornette.
Mhm.
I think it was Cornette. He's like, most of the time, you're your normal, character, your normal every day, and then your wrestling character is notched up to 10, right?
Mhm.
You're a 5 during the day, and your wrestling character is notched up to a 10. He said, New Jack, his everyday was 15, and his wrestling character was notched down to 12.
Yes.
They said, like, they had to, like, calm him down. Like, he was more ridiculous, like, just everyday life than he was as a wrestler.
That's right.
So,
yeah. I hate coming here. Why? Because I get out of my car and I step in tobacco juice.
yeah. He's like, OJ, I see what you're doing, brother. That's 2 less we got to worry about. Keep up the good work. Like, golly.
Man, that was a different time, man. A different time for sure. That was really good. That was a good deep dive on Bobby the Brain.
Yeah. I hope another manager comes along, whether it be a babyface manager like Jimmy Hart was, or another heel manager. I just think that there's a need for it when it comes to storytelling and just add another layer instead of like what the WWE now is doing, I think, is in lieu of managers almost. But they've kind of always done this, but they're getting a lot of heat for putting stars in on the build up to WrestleMania.
Oh boy.
And they've done it since WrestleMania 1. Cyndi Lauper,
Mr.
Yeah. And Mr. T. And so now you got Jelly Roll, which we talked about, man, I think it's cringe. I don't think he belongs in the ring. I don't think he's believable or even likable, man. Doesn't do anything for me. You got McAfee, but McAfee, man, I love McAfee, dude. He's A+ mic skills. What you think about Mac?
Oh, I mean, he is the embodiment of new media, man. Like I think of new media. I think of McAfee. I think of Joe Rogan. I think of the Kelsey brothers. Got some great potential to basically become the new Joe Rogans. They really do. But those guys, I think, are what people tune into and watch and are entertained by. And McAfee, like, dude, like, even when he was a player, after he would have a killer punt, he put one over there in Dead Man's Corner.
Oh, the dude's got so much juice.
Yeah. And he would do the whole Colin McGregor, strut off the field. Like kickers didn't
he
do
do
that.
the Vince McMahon strut.
That's right.
That's the Vince McMahon strut, right? Like, and the thing I love about McAfee, he's been a wrestling fan since like he was a kid, man. So just his commentating was top. I think it was top tier.
Yep.
He was decent as a wrestler. Like he really, like when he wrestled, he really, I guess, went through the grind and really learned it. And he was decent at it,
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, like Charles it's a tale as old as time in wrestling, right? And we talked a little bit about with Mia, the whole like paying your dues thing. I'm sure that there are many people, talent in the business, and maybe even people who work on the business side of the business who don't like to see people getting big spots who haven't paid their dues, who haven't taken bumps, and we discussed this earlier. It's not just wrestling, it's life. Like, we talked about, like, do you imagine like you and I bust our ass for 20 years in the Army and they bring in a guy from the private sector because he brought real value to the Army and, they brought him in at our rank.
And they're like, hey, man, here's your new colonel. Here's your new commander.
Right.
He's been in the Army 3 months.
Right. Same thing with wrestling. It's a private, TKO is a publicly traded company. They only care about money. So hurt feelings over paying dues is probably not high on their list. And if you recall, my man, WrestleMania, Roddy Piper, he wasn't happy.
Mr. T, man.
He wasn't happy about it. And I hate to say that I agreed with Hulk Hogan on anything, but Hulk was right. He's like, Roddy didn't see the future of the business, man. He didn't see the future like Vince and I saw it.
Yeah.
And that match could only have ended with Mr. T pinning Roddy Piper in the middle of the ring, 1, 2, 3, and Piper
It just
wouldn't do it.
it
He
crosses
wouldn't
over
do it.
into pop culture, man.
Mm.
That's where that pop culture moves the needle when it comes to money.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, fast forward however many years we are today now, Jelly Roll, right?
Right.
That's that pop culture. He's there. And because he's probably going to move the needle when it comes to money.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, think about the push that Wendy Richter got from Cyndi Lauper. Back in those days, people would go use the bathroom during the women's matches.
Absolutely.
It's not with Cyndi Lauper out there.
Yeah.
So I guess what you're kind of pointing to is Cody Rhodes' promo on SmackDown.
I liked it. It felt authentic, dude. It felt really, he was pissed off and it felt like that, and the thing is, I don't know if I think because let's be honest, him and Orton's build up to WrestleMania thus far has been stale and like
Agreed.
forced. Like, okay, Randy's the heel. He hears voices in his head. I love Randy, but it's stale, right? It's stale. So add McAfee, man, that just brings another layer in. It brings some new juice. It helps for the build up. So I don't think you can be mad at that. And I think Cody, even though that promo felt authentic.
Mhm.
I think he understands the business better than almost anybody, him being Dusty's son and been around in the business his whole life. He understands that any WrestleMania, almost every WrestleMania from one till now, the buildup has added pop culture figures into that.
Mhm. Yeah.
Travis Scott,
That's right.
right? The list goes on.
Yeah. And you know something? And this may be a huge, huge respect to Cody, a huge compliment to Cody. I suspect I know he's smart enough to know that. But because there are fans like me
He's playing us. Absolutely. He's playing us.
and that's brilliant.
Yeah.
Do I really
Because we're
think
going to get angry alongside of him,
absolutely. And guess what? That means we're going to go to Vegas.
Yep.
So, but they're tapping into something, and I think that fans, there are fans, not a lot, but there are probably a shrinking number of fans who still believe in the old days, the way the business is run in the old days, right? Well, Cody of all the people is the one who can tap into that because of his family pedigree, because of what he represents, and frankly, as you said, Pat McAfee coming out, injecting a little juice into that kind of that sputtering kind of buildup. I think it's probably a good move, man.
Yeah, man.
And if Cody is legitimately pissed off, oh well, I'm sure he'll get over it. Crying himself to sleep with his millions of dollars he's going to gain from performing at WrestleMania with Pat McAfee.
Yeah, that promo felt authentic, but I don't think he gets it, man. He's
smarter than that.
He's smarter than exactly, dude. No, there's a lot of things Cody Rhodes is, but
Mhm.
not wise to the business isn't one of them.
%. Now, I will say, I haven't been as unexcited about a WrestleMania as I am this year, and I don't like saying that because it makes me sound like a disgruntled smark, and I don't want to be that guy. But I'm really not. It's how I really feel. I will say that I am pretty pumped up about Roman and Punk. I am pretty stoked about that. I am super stoked about Opa Femi and Brock Lesnar. I think that's going to be fun. I'm stoked about Jade and Rhea, and we'll come back to that in another episode. But that's pretty much it, man. It's not been the best build up.
Yeah, it hasn't, man. Scale 1 to 10, I think it's like a 6 for me. It's not horrible, but it's nothing that, like I said, the last WrestleMania that really moved the needle for me was the Cody finishing his story.
That's right.
With Roman.
Yes.
That felt real. That felt authentic. That was the last great WrestleMania in my eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Last year's was, it was okay.
Yeah.
This year's, the build-up is okay. Like I said, it's missing a lot. There's definitely some good matches, man. One thing I would like to see is the Jacob Fatu and what's his nuts, man? The Scottish dude.
Drew McIntyre.
Yeah, Jacob Fatu and Drew McIntyre, man. There's really been no push there. There's been really, a little bit, but there's no huge storyline behind it or even why they don't like each other. But I think it's Drew kind of putting over Jacob Fatu, and hopefully they push Jacob Fatu. I'm a huge Jacob Fatu.
Yep.
And dude, I think the sky's the limit for the dude, man. And I just hope he gets a good push. I think if he goes hard heel, man, I think I think he could really really do some damage. Think, man, and I texted you this earlier this week when I was watching SmackDown. Cody as a baby face is stale. It's been stale.
Mhm.
I think after WrestleMania, man, either he goes away and takes a vacation for a while and then comes back, but I think he needs to come back as a heel.
Yeah. I mean, agreed. He's good enough to do it, and he's good enough to do
I
it
think so, yeah.
convincingly.
Instead of
And
dyeing his hair blonde, dye it black, and let's go, man.
go, yeah. I mean, he can do it. I mean, he absolutely can, and it'll be good for the business. It allows a younger talent to become babyface, go over, right? And that's kind of what I'm looking for. My kind of thing I'm looking for post Mania. I'm really looking to kind of see a more changing of the guard. It's time to start
Right.
bringing the talent is there. I've corrected myself because I was mocking NXT earlier. Actually, NXT's done a damn good job. There's some really good talent who've made it into the main roster now. And so I'm wrong on that. I'm looking to see that talent start moving up and really start headlining. And it's going to require the old guys to basically put them over and hand the reins to them. I'm looking for that after Mania. I don't think I want to see, and I love Randy Orton. God, I love Randy Orton. I don't want to see Randy Orton in Mania in a primetime match anymore. I want to see the younger talent.
And I love Randy Orton too, man. I think he's super underrated, but I think he's really one dimensional character. Like he's kind of, that's who he is Randy Orton. He's the Viper.
He's the Viper. He's a Hall of Famer. He's one of my favorites of all time.
Yeah, he's the greatest.
His time has
right?
passed. Yeah.
Yeah.
His time has passed.
And I think like Brock Lesnar realizes that too, and he's putting Oba over,
Yep. He better.
Yeah.
If Brock wins that match, I'm going to be really pissed off.
Yeah, that's going to be horrible, dude. That's going to be horrible. You want to hear some booze?
That ain't going to happen. Did you see Oba throw those refs all over the place? That was so freaking...
Dude, like garden gnomes, man. Hilarious, dude. It was like just throwing garden gnomes.
Yeah. And you were right.
He threw that one dude, man. The dude landed on his side.
Yep, that's
remember
right.
that first one he threw?
That hurt.
That dude went about 12 feet in the air, and like he was supposed to land on his back, like take a bump, but he like landed on his side.
Dude, speaking of bumps, did you see that freaking bump that Io Sky took, man?
Oof, I'm glad she's okay.
Dude, I thought she was not going to get up from that. I was like, oh my.
On her head, her neck. Like
jeez,
concrete. Yeah.
That was, and because I think her foot got tripped on the, she does that move all the time.
Like her foot her foot just hooked the rope, man, and she just kind of went down instead of diagonal.
Do your neck arches, kids. I mean,
she's one of the best, right? She's one of the best, and it just proves that, hey, this is high risk stuff, and shit happens, right? Not everything's gonna be perfect. I'm just glad she's okay.
Dude, I was freaking because when she got up, she looked a little woozy, man. I don't know whether she was selling it or if she was like concussed or what, but like
probably a little both.
Yeah, because she missed her target. She didn't make any contact with Asuka. Asuka's kind of rolled off, and I was like, dude, it would be devastating for the business. It'd be devastating for her first and foremost. But I don't think the business would have been able to absorb that blow of losing her. She's such a key part of the roster. And the fans love her, man. She's so over.
Yeah, absolutely.
They all do the whole.
I got a question, man. What do you think about Danhausen? What are your thoughts?
Dude, so as you can probably tell, I like weird in wrestling. All right.
Yeah.
Because I think I think that there's obviously a room for the tough guy, Brock Lesnar's, the Oba Femis. There's more than enough places at the table for that. And I enjoy that. But also like weird. And so I think Danhausen being on the roster right now has a lot of potential. And I love watching him and R-Truth crossing paths because that's comedy gold right there, right? That being said, I got to say, putting him in that box, putting him in the shipping crate and teasing that out over multiple weeks, they missed out on the, I think on social media, not that I care what social media says, but they're generally speaking, people were kind of disappointed in his kind of introduction, his kind of debut. But as you pointed out, but you pointed this out. This is your point here. You said that he's going to be a merch machine, and it's true. because he's got a really cool, weird, mysterious vibe, and he's funny as hell. I think he can be great, man.
And kids are gonna buy his merch. Like, they just are. It's not the same, but it's similar to Jey Uso, right? Like, I got his hat, right? But Jey Uso, man, like, kids are gonna buy his merch, so he's gonna be around. I don't care what he does. If he botches every damn match from here on out, kids are gonna love the dude, and they're gonna buy his merch, and, like we said a million times, TKO is a publicly traded company. Follow the money.
Yeah,
They have to please their investors. They could care less what me and you say.
yeah, that's right. I mean, Danhausen, I mean, I'm not a booker, I'm not a creative, just a mark. But, like, for me, I would love to see, like, Danhausen, like, interact, like, with a straight-laced wrestler, right?
Yeah.
Like,
No,
I don't
that would work.
yeah,
Like I said, segue to be I haven't seen him wrestle yet, right? Not
he
in the
hasn't wrestled yet.
WWE, but, like, him as a manager.
Mhm. Yeah,
Like, I think that would work, man. You put him in, like you said, with a straight-laced dude.
yeah,
Trying to think off the top of my head who that might be.
yeah,
Like a Drew McIntyre or something,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
just opposites type deal.
opposites. I see, to me, that's a lot more interesting than grouping him in with, you know, I don't know, like a troupe of other weirdos, right?
Yeah,
That's
right,
too obvious.
right.
But Danhausen is hysterical, man, and,
He's funny, dude.
yeah,
Like, when he curses somebody, it's like that next match or whatever the case is,
yeah,
something's gonna happen,
yeah,
like this last, SmackDown where, the ref got cursed and the ref couldn't count to 3, his arm
right?
wouldn't go down.
Yeah,
Hilarious, man, like, that's theater, man, that's comedy. I think it's something that we've really haven't had in the WWE for a while, and I think it
yeah.
just adds a layer and adds a little bit of intrigue and, just, some lightheartedness.
I think someone said the other day that Danhausen's like if, The Miz and The Undertaker had a baby, you'd get Danhausen, which I think in some ways
That's
is
funny. I
kind of
like
correct,
that.
actually.
I like that, man.
My boy Miz, man, he's still he's another one of those guys, and see, that speaks to your point, like, managers or just, like, role players, like, guys who can do comedy spots.
Yep.
Like, R-Truth does that. Miz, he wrestles, but he doesn't wrestle as much, but he does more comedy spots now. There's a
Yep.
place out there for talent who one point wrestled. They can be a manager, they can do comedy.
Yep.
They can still lend their personality to it and help make the product more entertaining for the fans. There are ways to do that, and managing could be one, Like, who out there talent-wise could be a really kick-ass manager right now? Hmm, that's kind of interesting.
Well, you just said it, The Miz. I think The Miz would be great. R-Truth would be hilarious.
Yep.
Danhausen, like, there's a few, One thing I want to hit on, John Mark, and I texted you this earlier in the week, and we don't have to talk for a long time on this, but there doesn't seem to be any more true tag teams other than the Usos. Uso to me is like the last like true tag team. Even though, Jay went off and did his thing for a while, he came back and they were tag team champions. They dropped the strap. I don't think get that, but like they're that last true tag team where they're legit twin brothers
Mhm.
and they came up as a tag team and now they're still a tag team. It seems like all the tag teams now are just kind of thrown together.
Yeah,
You got two
agreed.
wrestlers that don't have a storyline and don't have a storyline, and it feels like the WWE doesn't know what to do with them.
Yeah.
Throw them as a tag team.
Yeah, I mean, and it's sad, right? I agree with you 100% on that. And it's sad because when you and I were growing up in wrestling, tag teaming was a specialty, and
Absolutely.
it was a specialty. Like, you had guys that never did solo matches, like British
Well, yeah,
Bulldogs, right?
the Road Warriors,
Road
right?
Warriors, Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard, tag team.
Hart Foundation before Bret Hart, you
Right,
know, did his
right.
thing.
And there's a certain there's
Demolition.
and it's technical wrestling, right? It is teamwork, it's technical wrestling, it's timing, it's chemistry, all kind of into one.
The Steiners, the greatest of all time, the Steiners, I think they're the greatest of
Yeah,
all time. Like,
100%.
the list goes on, man, and, yeah, we're just missing that today.
Yeah, I don't know what to attribute that to. Maybe it's
I don't
something we
either.
maybe it's something we can maybe think about over the week, but, like, in my mind, that's what's happened. What has happened is, "Okay, I don't know what to do with you 2, so we're gonna put you guys together." right?
Yep.
I mean, and it's funny because like the rules of tag teams have changed too. Because like when I remember, because Mona is not a mark like me, but when we went to a match one time, we were watching a tag team match, and she goes, "Don't these guys like once you tag, you're supposed to go out of the ring, right?" And I was like, "Well, the rules have changed. Like you can stay in there as long as you're connected. It's really kind of weird."
It's a little more liberal nowadays. Back
A
in the
lot
day,
more.
man, then
And
yeah.
they don't have count outs anymore. They had back in the day, they had the 10-second count out. And I understand why they made that change because you can have a lot of great action outside the ring. But like, I just don't know if fans today appreciate because tag team wrestling, unless it's done really well, I think comes across as kind of set PC and too you start putting too many people in the ring.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like the 2-1-2 tag. I did not care for like the bunkhouse stampedes where you got 50 rednecks and they're just like wailing on each other.
Yeah, it's too much going on.
I don't really like war games, to be honest with you.
It's a lot going on in the ring, I think the
Yeah.
only time it really works is Royal Rumble.
Right. Rumble's different. Rumble,
Yeah.
you're absolutely right. That absolutely works. But tag teams can maybe that's it. Like, maybe that's a lost art. Like,
Yeah.
the folks just don't know how to run an exciting tag team match. If it comes across as too scripted and it comes across as too, like, spotty, people can kinda lose interest in it. But
Yeah, man. So, yeah, just,
hmm,
something I noticed and was thinking about and I'm just curious. Yeah.
I'll tell you what, we should definitely reheat that next week and think about it a little bit. We might have better
Yeah.
answers. Again, this is
Yeah.
an exploration, right? We're thinking about this
Yes.
stuff, and then we
It
riff
just
on it.
piqued my interest, man. I was thinking about it. I was like, dang, there's no tag teams.
So maybe next week's deep dive, I'll do a tag team and we can segue into a broader tag team discussion.
Yeah, sounds good, bro. Sounds good.
Yeah.
And then, so one thing I noticed, man. So Sami Zayn,
Mm,
like, what is going on? He came out on SmackDown as he's supposed to be the baby face. He was getting booed. There
right,
was no pop.
right.
He was getting booed like pretty much the whole match.
Uh,
Like,
you know,
and I was never a big fan. I
yeah,
was
I
honestly never
know.
a
We've
big
talked
fan.
about Sami Zayn before. There's part of me who wants to really like Sami Zayn, right? Because he doesn't play, as you said, there's a room for everyone.
Yep.
He's not like one of the big powerhouse guys, right? And because he's a little nerdy and because he's,
Doesn't look like he's ever lifted a weight.
right. That there's something kind of cool about the fact that he's gone out there and he's won the strap, right? Like he's carried it before and he's been successful. I think it's whether it's football, talking to you, Brett Favre, whether it's football, basketball, baseball, pro wrestling, I think it comes down to a point where there's a point where you just got to know when to try something else. And I
Yeah.
think he's at that point, man. I mean, if the fans aren't reacting to you that way, if you're unable to change it up, and reclaim that pop, well, he's going to continue to go out there and make money, but I think it hurts your legacy personally because I think he's done some really good stuff in the business.
Yeah, his run with the Bloodline was good. I really liked it. You never knew what was gonna happen, right? But, yeah, his run as a single and just kinda out there as the US champion.
Yeah. Yeah. I just don't see any more upside for the guy, and I hate it because I like him, but I agree with you. Remember his talking about Jade just doesn't seem as oozy. He was the only guy who can get the character of Roman Reigns to break in the ring and start
Yeah,
laughing. And that's what he brought to that. He didn't bring physicality. He brought, hey, I'm this
yeah.
obnoxious white dude who's going to inject himself into this family now.
Right,
And
right.
I'm going to say the wrong things at the wrong time. And
And that worked, and he's a good wrestler,
yeah,
for his own right, but I think, when Pat McAfee was cutting that promo on 2 5'5" guys
that's right.
wrestling for 45 minutes, I think he was probably referring to Sami Zayn,
Right.
either directly, indirectly.
Right. Right. Yeah. I'm kind of with you on that one. I thought, who was it? Was it him and LA Knight that were beefing? I forget who it was. He was beefing with someone. You'll have to edit that. I can't come off the top of my head. I thought maybe early this year, late last year, there he may have been able to make a run, but it was pretty obvious it was pretty obvious that the fans really aren't vibing with him right now. And it's just
Yeah,
it's a decision that they all have to make. Or guess
yeah.
what? Decision's gonna be made for you. And that's the worst is when they say
I
you've been released.
Yeah, and I think they're obviously, behind Trick Williams, right? I think Trick is gonna get a huge push.
Mhm.
Sammy's got the US title. He got it from Carmelo Hayes. I didn't really get that,
There
and
was no
now it's
storyline to it.
No storyline. There's no storyline to Sammy and Trick.
I mean, that's the thing, Charles. You're exactly right. Like if there's no storyline, then all you're left with is two athletes wrestling. Well, there's
Right.
no way in hell that Carmelo loses to Sami Zayn
Yeah.
in a straight match, right?
Right.
So that's what's missing. Is like it just doesn't make sense. And you're
No.
absolutely right. Like Trick is, and again, without a storyline and without a reason, a goal behind Sami Zayn winning, then it doesn't make any sense that Trick would lose, right?
So I think Trick is white hot, man. Like, I think he's about to be white hot, and obviously he's probably gonna beat Sammy for the title at WrestleMania. It's probably a done deal, like Brock put Oba over.
Yeah,
But the thing is, it's like Sammy's really can't put Trick over. Trick's already over, and like no one really cares about Sammy.
right.
So yeah, I just don't get it, man.
Who was the guy that you have to edit this and remember the name? Yes, yes, yes.
Oh, Daniel Bryan.
Yeah. It's it's funny. Daniel Bryan was as over as anyone I've ever seen in my life, right? Like he had fans, totally bought into his character, engaged with his character. He wasn't like a really strong physical guy. He
He's a
was
little dude.
he was a great athlete. He was a good shoot.
Yeah.
He was a shooter. He was a good athlete. But like Daniel Bryan had something, and so I'm not saying that because Sami Zayn doesn't look like the traditional wrestler that he can't be, but Daniel Bryan, guys like Daniel Bryan had something, and Sammy's doesn't seem to have that right now, and I hate it because I like the guy. But yeah, I'm with you, man. Daniel Bryan and that dude got over. I was
Yeah.
quite a big fan.
I wasn't a fan, but he was over. Yeah.
Yeah, we should deep dive
Just
him one day too. Have a debate about Daniel Bryan.
yeah, just I don't know, man, whether it's just me growing up in the area of giants and just enormous people. Anytime a small guy kind of gets over as like a main event guy,
Mhm.
you just have to wow me, man. You have to be next level, like
Mhm.
luchador wow, like a Rey
Right.
Mysterio, like that type of wow, Eddie Guerrero,
Mhm.
along those lines to kind of wow me and get me going, man. Danny Bryan really didn't do it for me that much, but to each his own.
Yeah. No. I mean, and that's just I think for quote smaller guys, it's a bigger challenge. And our conversation about WCW, like WCW saw the value of the smaller guys, right? And cultivated those guys, made them into something more than just at the bottom of the sheets. And one of the greatest things ever happened to the WWE was Rey Mysterio, Chris Benoit. Well,
Yep.
okay, with the caveat,
And
you
yeah,
know,
Eddie Guerrero, man.
we're going over there, man. Dean
Yeah,
Malenko. I mean, that was a fantastic ad for the WWE, and you're absolutely right, man. It is what it is. It's like the smaller guys in bodybuilding. Yeah, a guy who's a smaller dude can be a professional bodybuilder. He can have his body perfectly defined, but there's huge discrimination against guys with short arms. If you have long arms, so the same thing when WWE. If you're a smaller guy, you're a flyweight, you're gonna have to bring it with a charisma. And
absolutely.
Rey Mysterio and Eddie Guerrero brought it. Uh,
Yep.
Chris Benoit, I think that he was charismatic in his own way, but the dude could wrestle, right? And he had a tough guy persona, and he could wrestle, you know. So again, I put this in terms of body size. I put Sami Zayn in that same category, and he doesn't come close to any of those dudes.
Yeah, it's true.
So again, all respect to him. He reached the top of the business. He's had some great moments. He's given me a lot of laughter, with Bloodline. But I just have to say, like as a mark, he just doesn't move me right now.
Yeah, no, not at all. Either he's got to get injected in like a really good storyline, or I don't know, man.
Yeah,
But yeah,
yeah, yeah. Interesting. A guy who could probably also be a manager, by the way.
yeah, absolutely.
Now that's it. Now, see again, like Sami Zayn is one of those guys that can plug in. He can fit in. He can still stay in the business and do what he loves to do, and he can probably help make a lot of money for the business because of his personality, his sense of humor. You
Yeah,
know, he could absolutely do that. I put him on the same level as Miz and R-Truth. I really do. in a different nerdier kind of way. Well, Miz is pretty nerdy, so I love Miz.
Yeah, no, Miz, yeah, definitely, man, and a lot of just that charisma and those mic skills, man.
Yep. Yep.
That's half the battle, dude,
Yep.
is selling, and, mic skills, and I just think it's, mic skills nowadays, they're just not what they were back in the day,
No, no, no.
like you
By the
say,
way,
there's more it's just more scripted, I think, more controlled, and then, like we said before, right, there's not, dark matches.
mm-mm,
So if you have, like, something you wanna say or a new promo you wanna cut or work on, you can't really work on it. You don't know how it's gonna hit because it's Raw or SmackDown.
that's right. Yeah. Yeah,
And
that's
if it
right.
falls flat on Raw or SmackDown, man, like, living in infamy, right? That they're holding against you.
That's
Whereas if
right.
you just did in a dark match and you just work in your craft, and it doesn't hit a dark match, hey, no big deal. Let me go
Yep.
back to the drawing board.
Yep. 100%, man. Yeah, by the way, speaking of, Miz, you gotta have you checked out his, 6 Feet Under podcast yet with Michelle McCool and Undertaker?
I'll be honest, man, and I don't wanna talk shit, but, like, ever since Undertaker didn't start doing his podcast with his wife, dude, I don't really
Oh, okay. Yeah. No, I get that.
sh
No, I totally respect that.
she's not not watchable, not listenable, like, adds nothing to the
Yeah.
podcast, takes away the podcast, she's annoying, and
Yeah.
she overtalks guests and her husband.
Yeah. You
Whereas
definitely
the
get a
dude
lot less.
before is like he was what's his name, man? He has his own podcast now, man, and I guess they left on good terms, him and the Undertaker, but he was a great podcaster because he was kinda half Mark, but still half,
Yeah.
quasi kind of friends with the Undertaker. So, like, I think he was perfect, man.
I think one of the things that, like, you and I are learning as we go in this project is whenever you have a guest, if it's a wrestling podcast and you have a talent on, if you're like the setup guy or the mic guy, your job is to speak like 10%.
Yeah.
And then what you do say needs to be really funny, really insightful, steers the conversation in a way that people want to steer it. Like it's a
Yeah.
tough job, and she doesn't do that. It's literally she and her husband up there just talking to a guy. It's yeah.
And she overtalks and no one wants to hear you, man, like, you're there because you're the Undertaker's wife, let's be real.
And it's funny because you say that now that I think back to it, it's true. There were some times where because the interaction, the history of the Miz and Undertaker is notorious, right? And I wanted
It
to
was behind
learn.
the scenes, right?
Yeah,
You didn't let him in the locker room.
the lemon locker room, and I wanted to learn more about that. But what they did was they spent more time joking, beating around the bush around it, and joking about it rather than talking about like what really happened. And it was just kind of funny. I left myself a little disappointed. That being said, Miz had some hilarious stories when he could get a word in edgewise.
Yeah,
So
right.
yeah,
No, I'm about to check that out.
yeah, it was all right. But the only one I listen to now, well, I listen to all of them honestly. Like I just get in my car and hit play and just go. Hopefully someday somebody says, yeah, I can't. I just jump in my car and put on the Hardway Project.
That'd be nice, dude, that'd be nice. I like Cody Rhodes'
Yep,
podcast, it's
it's good.
okay.
It's good. Yeah,
He's super talented, super polished, on the mic, man.
dude,
Super polished dude.
he never underdresses. Every
No.
time that dude goes around, he is always coat and tie. I mean, I guess if I looked that good in a suit, I would do the same thing too. But like, the dude is a total pro.
Yep,
Um,
absolutely, man.
Total pro.
Yeah, I listen to that, man, back when I don't think he has his anymore, but, Stone Cold had his, what is it called? His podcast, I forget exactly what it was called, his ranch sessions. What is his ranch called? I forget,
Let me look it up real
dang,
quick.
to edit that out.
I thought he still had that Stone Cold podcast.
Yeah, his Stone Cold podcast, it doesn't seem like it's as frequent as it used to be. He had a bunch of, like, legends on there that he wrestled with and he worked with back in the day, and I really like those conversations, but it seems to me like he ran out of the people to talk to that he worked with,
Yeah, yeah,
big names,
big names. Well,
you
now it's
know?
called the Steve Austin Show. So it's
The Steve Austin Show.
at some point it was just, I think what it was. I think this is what it was. Where you can edit a lot of the stuff out. I think that it was the Stone Cold podcast when it was a WWE thing. Now it's not. Now it's the Steve Austin show.
Gotcha.
Yeah, because I'm looking at his, and you're right. He doesn't seem to have his, probably because it's almost impossible for him to get WWE talent if he left his WWE mark behind, and he's now taking a different business model where he's just Steve Austin and he brings
And
on.
there's probably tons of, when you leave the business at the end of your contract, there's probably tons of no compete clauses and no this clauses and no that clauses. And especially when you take your contract, you can only do certain things that are approved by the WWE and TKO. You know,
100%.
contracts, man. Yeah.
100%. Well, it would have been great to see Stone Cold Steve Austin in San Antonio. I suspect that some of the stuff that you were talking about probably had something to do with that.
Probably. Or, that dude like legit, like he working on his doom buggy or whatever the hell for a race. I mean, he ended up winning, I hear, but it's it's funny, man. Like whether, I guess probably the money just wasn't right, or that the terms weren't right for him at the time, and that's okay.
Yep. All right, my brother. Probably should
Now,
pack it in.
Yeah, man. Well, let's wrap this up, bro. Good conversation as always, brother. I'm looking forward to the more build up to WrestleMania. It's in 2 weeks. We're a little less than 2 weeks now, I believe.
Should we do a back-to-back weekend episode?
Yeah, let's do it.
In the lead up to WrestleMania, maybe we can have one final episode prior to where we can preview WrestleMania, kind of set our expectations, and then after WrestleMania, we can shit talk it.
Let's do it.
Isn't that what all the other podcasters do?
Yeah, let's do it, man. So, yeah, man. So what we're going to do, man, we're going to have back-to-back podcasts, pre-WrestleMania and post-WrestleMania, kind of our review and our take on things. So be prepared for that. But like always, John Mark, man, it's good seeing you, brother. Good chatting with you, man. And just looking forward to, the build-up to WrestleMania. And maybe they're going to throw some monkey wrenches into the build-up like they did Pat McAfee, these stale storylines. What can TKO and WWE do to kind of juice it up a little bit?
Yeah, I hope they prove me wrong, man. I hope they do. And I believe me, anytime I say anything critical about WWE, it's not because I hate them. It's because I love them. And
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and
we just want a good product. That's all.
Good product.
Yeah.
All right,
I appreciate it, brother.
We'll see you next week.
Well, take care. Yes, sir.
Peace.